Good morning and welcome to Infographics. Infographics of some sort have been around for a long time. In fact, we identify the caveman drawings as the first of the infographics. Most recently, though, we have seen a surge in them on social media and in other various forums. Poster sessions at some of our conference or a form of infographics. I was just reviewing an advanced high school journalism course, and the last unit was infographics as an alternative form of media communication. In our last Texas published journal, one of our authors wrote an article on presenting the college syllabus as an infographic. I've just mentioned a few of the purposes that we've seen, but we will explore throughout this morning, and especially in this PowerPoint slideshow, the purpose of infographics, especially in business and marketing. We'll look at key elements of what can make an infographic. We'll use two of the most popular infographic free apps to learn to create some infographics, and we'll talk a little bit, and the baby of the infographics, the meme that you see on social media quite a bit. And finally, we'll discuss just briefly the robust programs of Illustrator and some of the others that are used to create infographics. There's no better way to learn how to use some of the tools than to start with a template. Infographics are visuals. We are visual more and more by nature. So looking at these words, see if you can say the color of the word rather than the word. I can do that if I concentrate, but it's my inclination to not. I'm not sure what that proves, but it does kind of give us a fun exercise to see that we really are visual by nature. Kind of messes with your mind, doesn't it? So what is an infographic? It's an explainer graphic for website and social media. That puts it pretty precisely. It does give visual information, so images that explain something in that image. They are commonly used for websites and social media, but also sent through programs such as Constant Contact to explain things to their members, such as NBEA. We had a focus last year to send at least one infographic a month and to post those on our social media. Visual information makes a more significant impression and more lasting impression. We certainly can use them as teaching tools. So what do you have to do to get started to make a good infographic? First off, you need to do your research, find your proof, and seek criticism of what it looks like in the end, just like we do in web design. I had the best experience this past fall of getting to work with a team on a poster session at the Quality Matters conference in Portland, Oregon. Working with a team, then sending it to a designer, well, that was kind of cheating, isn't it? But it was awesome. We won the session with one of our posters, which was a great experience, but it definitely took a team to get that done. And here we are. I'm not in the picture, but here we are at one of the posters. We had two of them similar to this, but one of the posters that won the poster challenge. An infographic in the making. Also, what makes a good infographic, of course, no better way to explain it than an infographic. So a good infographic has potential. It is not boring, it's not amateur, it's not embarrassing, it's not a liability or damaging, and it's not underachieving or invisible, but it has data that's reliable, timely, and data content that is timely. It tells a story. It may be clever, it's a message, it's something that gets attention. It has a good design, theme, colors, and fonts, and it's definitely readable. That's a number one thing. And it has shareability because, as I mentioned, most everything we do these days will be found on the web. So to get started, you have to decide what you're trying to illustrate. Decide whether you're going to be doing a process data and data trends, a geographical information, telling a story such as a timeline. We'll see an example of that today. Teach complex skills by simplifying them with only a few words and more images. The headline needs to be powerful and grab the attention. Just as in desktop publishing, we want a focal point, which isn't necessarily the title, but it does need to gain attention. Last fall, I took a MOOC course, a massive online course that doesn't cost anything unless you want a certificate at the end, on infographics. And in that course, one of the things that we learned first was that many times the infographic has a visual outside on the whole edge of it that encompasses everything in the middle. And that outside edge may be the focal point. For instance, if you're doing something with schools, you may have a picture of the whole schoolhouse and everything inside that schoolhouse. So it's kind of an interesting concept. Choose harmonious color palettes, something we already teach in PowerPoint and some in Word. We do teach that in desktop publishing. Many of the concepts that we teach in desktop publishing in our courses, and of course in marketing, are used in infographics. It is one of the reasons I've added that unit to my desktop publishing course. Tall vertical graphics get the most attention. You want to limit your fonts, just like we do in desktop publishing. And of course, bottom line always should be in marketing. It needs to be readable. How many of us have received a wedding invitation that was beautiful but unreadable? I know I have. One of the big purposes of an infographic is to share. This list is very important because it gives you an idea of a starting point for your sizes. Pinterest, for instance, are long vertical graphics. If you are a Pinterest user, you probably already recognize that. I noticed this past weekend, because I'm collaborating with her, my niece sent me or added a board for her husband who will be teaching for the first time this year. And she added a board for teaching ideas for him and has numerous really good infographics in there of teaching ideas. This is a great slide to keep handy so that you know a starting point for sizes when you're creating your infographics. Some of the software, especially those apps online that we'll look at in a minute, already give you those ideas. You can find great examples of infographics if you go to Google. Study those great examples. Just go to Google, click images, and type in infographic. You can see them by categories. It is a great exercise for students to go do this and take two of them and analyze the two and write an explanation of how they are different and what makes one better than the other, or the parts of each of them that are better than the other. Good critical thinking exercise. What do most infographics have in common? They have bright colors. We'll see some of the most used colors. They have headings that get attention using elements and colors, and definitely some sort of focal point. Many of the same concepts that we teach in a desktop publishing class, like I said, such as balance and rhythm, are necessary in an infographic. Some of the most popular software and apps to create infographics, and you can also use PowerPoint and Excel. All of those can be used to make infographics. Of course, Excel has all the data, so if you're doing data, that's a great starting point. One of them that we'll look at in a minute is Easily. It is a pretty simple app, free, that you can use online. It also, one of the things I really love about Easily is if you sign up, they send you tips and tricks for infographics and articles to read that really helps you to learn even more about the topic, and for your students. Adobe Illustrator, which is a state-of-the-art vector program, also creates great infographics. Probably more of your professional infographic creators use Adobe Illustrator. In the course that I took last fall, that is what they were primarily focused on, although they did discuss all of the apps that are free. Another app that's free is Canva. It is well known for making memes, which is just a miniature infographic. It is free and pretty easy to use. I like them because once you've saved yours, you get quotes that I really like to use. Those are neat. And finally, and this isn't all of them, there are lots of things that can be used to make infographics, some expensive, some free. You just want to keep that in mind. And SmartDraw is by Microsoft, and it's also very much used to make infographics, and also a state of the art. I hope that you've gotten some ideas from this part one, and we will now continue in a minute with the demonstration of Easily in Canva.